Hey guys, Morgan from DePault, your hardware captain, back with an important question for you. Does your ego blow?
What did you say?
Or worse yet, not blow at all? Well, today we're going to remedy that situation, and don't worry, it could happen to the best of us. Let's crack this ego blower open and bring it back from the dead. Power on.
Party on, Wayne!
Party on, Garth.
It's Wayne's World! Wayne's World! Party time! Excellent!
Alright folks, if you have one of these ego leaf blowers, either the LB5300 like this particular one or a similar one, and nothing happens when you pull the trigger, it can really only be one thing. Alright, well maybe two things, but if you check the battery first and you know that you got a good battery, and when you pull the trigger you get a green light, then it can really only be one thing, and that's the electric assembly. So we're going to go ahead and take this baby apart so we can get in there and replace the electric assembly and get it back to the customer. You really don't need that many tools to actually do this job. We're going to go ahead and remove the front tube and of course the battery for safety. After that, you really only need a T15 Torx bit, preferably a deep one so you can get into the actual recesses here, and a razor blade, and my suggestion is actually some lighter fluid. I'll show you that in a minute. Let's go ahead and take out the rest, all these screws, so we can get this baby split in half. Once you get all 10 screws out, you notice that on the seam is actually this little sticker right here. Here's a trick that I learned way back in the day fixing Xbox 360s, getting stickers off. Use some lighter fluid. So I'm just going to kind of pry up the corner just a little bit and just use a few dabs of the lighter fluid. That way it gets under the sticker. It softens the adhesive under the sticker. When the lighter fluid dries, the sticker becomes sticky again. So I kind of keep working it down. All you need is just a little bit, and it'll start coming right off, maintaining the integrity of the sticker. Alright, there you go. When that dries, that sticker will go right back on. It's already starting to get tacky again as it dries. Once you get the upper body prepped by removing the screws, removing the sticker, we're going to remove the stand. Now you don't actually have to take out the screws that are Phillips head. You really just have to take off the Torx head screws. And then the stand just wiggles right off. Now we can go ahead and split this clamshell right in half. Just kind of wiggle it off, don't force it. This way here, when it comes apart, you can actually look to see how the wires are run. And I do suggest that you take a picture of them so you can run them the exact same way. Alright, here's the electrical assembly. And what we're going to do is actually just take these out by removing the adjuster right here. Just pop it right off, and that should separate the rest of the wires that are going up front. Then you can slide these wires right down. There we go. Okay, so now you can actually see how the wires are coming in through here and how the wires basically go in through the main channel there. So we're going to go ahead and actually remove everything Now some of these are stuck in here with the silicone glue from the factory. You just pry that right out. Just make a note of where certain things are connected, like the switch, and where the adjuster goes, the rheostat. You got 3 main power connectors here. They just pop right off. All right. The last thing to disconnect here is the switch. And also make note of where the levers go, where the springs go, and in case any of these guys pop out, where these are mounted on as well. I'm going to go ahead and take the trigger assembly off, the turbo assembly off, and the switch should come right out. Just remember that some of these are glued in, and if it's difficult to get out, you could use your razor blade and pry it out. Now, there was a time when I tested every one of these boards, and I found that they were all bad. So once I know that the battery is good, and the unit just has no power, but I can see the battery get activated with the green light on the back, it really can only be this board. But while you do have everything apart, you might as well test the motor that's inside. And if you have a multimeter that has the diode mode on it, you can actually do a test by taking any 2 of these wires and seeing if you have a good motor. And I can move it to another set of wires and test again. That way there, we know that the motor's good, and further confirms that the electrical assembly is bad. So we're going to go ahead and replace that now. I happen to have one of these electrical assemblies in stock. You can see the part number here. I'm going to go ahead and open it up, and then we can start lining up, laying out the wires, and seeing how we're going to run them through the channels to make it as close to the factory run as possible. Now, I've tried running these wires about 3 or 4 different ways. I'm going to show you my favorite way to do it, or what I find to be the easiest. If you have a different way to do it, hey, I don't judge.
Oh, behave.
I'm going to take off the cover here so we can actually get to the channel and get these wires temporarily out of the way. I'm going to do my best to not hide what I'm doing as I'm stuffing some of the wires in. But as I go, I'll try to point out some of the more important things. Some people start back forward. Some people start top down and back. However you want to start is fine. I usually like to at least get the bulk stuff out of the way, so I'll start with the battery components. I usually try to at least line up where the board is going to end up. And then from there, get the capacitor in line as I run the wires through the channel all the way down to where the battery connector is going to go. I guess one note to make: if you start with the black wire on the bottom, just try to continue that trend all the way down. This white wire here I put on top just because it's the thinnest. It has the most flexibility on where I can kind of move it into the grooves. And this guy here is where the battery connects, just slides right into the channel. Alright, next I try to come back up to the top and rearrange things to get the wires a little neater. I like to run the turbo switch first, since that's the furthest away. Then I like to run the activator switch and kind of work my way backwards from there. So for the turbo switch, the board you want facing down, and you want to make sure that it runs at least into the grooves, hiding the wires, keeping them safe. So I'm going to run the wires through first and slide in the switch. Next, I'm going to run the activator switch. Again, the board faces down, and it fits right into the channel here. Okay. All right, next I try to clean up these wires here. There's a little groove down underneath here, and I want to try to get all of these wires into that groove so it doesn't get pinched when I put in this rotary here. Now for the rotary, the part with the white connector is going to be on the bottom facing towards the main board. And it just slides right in the little channel here. And if you find that the wire pops out, you can use something like your Torx bit to help guide it in. Don't use anything sharp like a screwdriver or a razor blade. I'll use a Torx bit just to make it easier to show you. All right. Once you get it in the channel, go ahead and slide down your rotary switch. All right, so now you have the whole front assembly set up. And one thing that we have to do is route the rotary switch wires and the main board wires. So for this part, I'm actually going to lift the main board out a little bit, and the black wire there's a little groove in the main board. I'm just going to kind of stuff that in, and then this white shielded wire I'm going to kind of lay flat and just guide it on down. That way there it stays protected. Alright, next is these main motor wires here. It doesn't particularly matter which color you run first. I usually just like to keep them as flat as possible. So in this particular one, I'm going to run yellow first, then brown, and blue on top. And I'm going to connect them one at a time. Alright, once you get all three wires connected, go ahead and slide over the heat shrink. If the wires pop out of the channel, it's alright, you can just push them back in. Once you get the heat shrinks on, there's a little channel that you can put all three wires in. Again, I try to keep the series that I line them up the same so that they stay flat. Alright, so let me pause here in case when you took this apart the first time and everything just kind of came flying out. This way here you can see how the end result will go. Alright, next, let's add our components back on. Here's the lever, it only lines up one way. Now you'll notice for the rheostat, you might have to lift it up just slightly so you can get the actual lever on, and then just kind of slide it back down into place. Alright, next let's do the turbo button. Slides right around this screw hole right here and lines up with the switch. There you go. The trigger assembly, there's a stud right here with the receiving hole right here. So want to make sure that the spring also lands in the dedicated spot for it. Alright, we're good to go on the inside here. We're going to put the clamshell back together after we put this cover on, and then we got to test it out. Start with the cover. And again, as you're putting everything on, just kind of make sure it doesn't pinch. And also one note about the cover is these rubber stops here has to fit nice over these little nubs here. Should hear it kind of click in place, and all the screw holes should line up nice. Take the other clamshell body here, slide that right on. Again, trying to make sure that we're not pinching any wires or anything popped out of place. Once you get everything back together, I kind of take a few screws and just kind of line things up to make sure that the body holds tight and that I'm not seeing any major seams popping out as I go down. Alright, before I put every screw back in place, it's always a good idea to give it a quick little test. So, you don't even have to put on the front tube. Let's just put the battery in. And you want to test power there. You want to make sure that you adjust the rheostat and test the turbo too. So let's try it on the lowest setting. All the way up. And then turbo. Alright, we're good to go. Let's put this baby all the way back together. Alright, next we're going to put the 4 screws to hold the stand back on. Last but not least, don't forget your sticker. Good to go. As always, I'd like to thank you for watching, and make sure to hit that like button or toss us an interaction. The part we used for today's repair will be down in the description below, along with a link to our Shopify, in case you need to pick one up for your Ego LB5300 sitting at home. This is your hardware captain signing out and reminding you that blowing leaves into a pile to jump into is always fun. Until you remember you still have to pick them up. See you next time. Alright, Chase, do you think that we should be able to tell if the Ego blower is working?
Yeah.
Alright, the other one worked. Let's try this one. Perfect. Let's try another one. Alright, this one's a little bit heavier. Let's try this one. Alright, place your bets. Do you think this one's gonna work? Alright, give it a shot. Nice.
Got it.